Greetings. Our topic today is project management. So project management is the planning, organization, and management of resources. We're trying to get something done. That's basically the whole goal of a project manager, is to make sure the project or the task or whatever it is gets done. So the procedure looks something like this. So you can see those things we talked about. Let me get up a laser pointer here. So we have plan, organize, and manage, the three major things we identified in the previous slide. So planning involves finding out what those major milestones are. So when does the project start and when are things due? So if you think back to our first project, we had four major milestones. You had the preliminary design review, the first prototype, and the second prototype, and then you had a design report. So if you knew when those things were, you could then figure out the tasks that kind of stitch those things together. What do I have to do to finish a PDR? Well, you have to do the concept generation, the concept selection, and before all that, you have to do the problem definition. So that kind of stuff. Once you understand your tasks, you need to figure out how long those tasks will take. That comes with experience or just looking at previous things. And then we move into the organize phase. So we now have all of our tasks, we have our milestones, we want to organize them so we can visualize them and figure out if we're on track to finish, or if we're not, if we're doing things efficiently. So there's two types of visualizations we're going to look at here in a second. The first one is the Gantt chart, and the second is the PERT chart. So we'll look at those in just a second. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to manage the project. So we're going to manage that. We're going to monitor our progress. We're going to see if things are going well, if they're not going well. We'll talk about some things we could do if things aren't going well. So why is project management important? Well, if you think back to that spaghetti tower I had you guys do at the beginning of the semester, and kind of just think through these questions. So the first one is saying how many people did you actually have working at the same time? Were you using all of your resources? A lot of groups, they were using people as clamps. Some just had people sitting. So if you have everybody working, you could theoretically get more done. How many marshmallows did you have left over? So hopefully you used them all, because a tall tower has to use all your marshmallows. But if you had some left over, either your design didn't use all the marshmallows, or you probably just ran out of time, which is the last question here. So a lot of groups were working right up to the end, and they just kind of finished because I said time was up. So project management, if that has been something you guys, it was only 10 minutes, but if you could have practiced some project management, you probably could have used your time more efficiently, had some time left over at the end, and hopefully built a taller tower. So now we're looking at the organization here. So the first of these is the Gantt chart. So this is basically a spreadsheet. You can see here we have some bar charts going in. We have these green bars and then we have these orange bars. The green bars indicate completed work. The orange indicate work to be done. So you can see that we are currently finishing up day 6 and starting day 7 here. So across the top we have day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and so on. They don't have to be days. They could be minutes, hours, weeks, months, whatever makes sense for the project at hand. Down this first column here, we have the activities or the actions or the tasks. So based on what we were talking about previously, they would be the tasks. Like, what do you need to do? So they'd be things like, define the problem. What are the constraints? What are the criteria? They might be generate concepts, make a morph matrix, those kind of things, if you're trying to do this for, say, a project in this class. So other interesting things about Gantt charts. So they're really good at showing what happens on each day. So on day 1, you can see that we are cutting fur, we are cutting material, and we are cutting accessories. By the way, if you didn't pick up on this, we are trying to make teddy bears. That's what this example is. On day 3, we are stuffing and sewing fur, sewing clothes, and sewing accessories. So you see these two here in red. So Gantt charts are really good at this. They're really good at showing things happening in parallel, things happening at the same time. So if you have multiple people or multiple stations, then you can have things happening at the same time, which makes you more efficient. At the end here, you can see we have these blue boxes. These are sequential tasks. So this is, we dress the bear, and then when we're done dressing the bear, we then package the bear. Gantt charts can do this, but that's not their strength. So that sequential tasks are visualized much better with PERT charts. So PERT charts, you might also have heard these called network charts. So basically you have your starting node, and then you branch out, and so you can see you have this branch of brown tasks, so cutting, sewing, embroidering, this branch of yellow tasks, cutting, stuffing, and a green one. So kind of these different, you can think of these like as like branches of an assembly line, and then everything comes together here. So you can see how dressing the bear depends on all of this stuff ahead of it getting done. In the Gantt chart, that wasn't that wasn't easily seen. So another thing that a PERT chart's really good at is finding what's called their critical path. So let me get a pen here. So if we look at this top thing here, so let me just kind of circle this. So this chain of actions, this first one is 10 minutes, this is 10 minutes, this is 10 minutes. So for a total of 30 minutes. This bottom one down here, we have two things, a 5-minute task and a 10-minute task. So that is a total of 15 minutes. And then we have these two here in the middle, 10 minutes and 30 minutes. So if I add those together, I get 40. So if you say, to get from the starting point to this dressing the bear, which of these will cause us to, basically, which is the longest path? The brown one, the yellow one, or the green one? So the longest path is the 40-minute path. If you're working the green path that day, so you're on the green assembly line, well, you'll have 15 minutes of work, and then you'll kind of just sit there for another, 25 minutes, it looks like. If you're on the brown path, 30 minutes, then there's 10 minutes of wait. So this yellow path, and let's see if I can erase all of this real quick, makes up our critical path. So let me just highlight that again. So our critical path is this path right here. The critical path being the shortest amount of time that we can complete this. So all the stuff on here is our critical path. So say you have enough people assigned to work your assembly line, but normally at least, but some people call in sick. You could pull them off of the critical path, but then you'll slow down. Instead, how you would do that is if you're behind, you'll probably pull them off the green path first, because the green path only takes 15 minutes, and if it runs even twice as long, so if it takes 30 minutes now to do all of this, it's still going to be done before we get done with the two yellow tasks here. So just some management things you could do. All right, let's move on to our next thing here. So that kind of concludes what we're talking about here. So I want to see if you can make a Gantt chart. So you're going to have a homework assignment. I want you to find a recipe, just any old recipe, with at least 5 steps. We don't want this to be too simple. And I want you to basically make a Gantt chart from that recipe. So visualize it. So basically down the left, instead of tasks, you're going to put ingredients. Across the top, you're going to put a unit of time. So this could be 1 minute if it's a really short recipe. It could be 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. If you're doing something that's going to be like a smoking or something, it might be like 15 minutes, an hour. So use something that makes sense. Inside of the bars, they kind of show how long stuff is. So again, if we go back here, there's these bars. So inside these bars, you would write down what's going on, what action is the person doing. There might be other ways you might be creative to make that look a little better. And then try to organize things so that things that are going to go there. So like if you have like a stock and then you have something added later to the stock, like all the stock ingredients are going together, and maybe like the noodles get added in later. So like they're not, yeah. So I'll have an example here. I'll talk about that in a second. So use a spreadsheet to make this. Include a link to the recipe in that spreadsheet. And then when you're done, file, save as PDF. If you're using Google Sheets, if you're using Excel, you just file, save as, similar thing, file, save as PDF. So let's look at this example. All right, let's see here. Oops, this get a little mad at me. All right, so here's our example. So this is a chicken soup example. And I don't know if you can see my cursor, but basically across down the left side here, we have the ingredients, and then across the top we have time. So they went with 10-minute chunks here. So they're making a chicken soup. So you can see so the first ingredient should either be carrots or chicken breast, because they start at the 0 to 10 minute mark. So that should be the first one that you put in. And then, So it makes sense to go from carrots to potatoes because the carrots and potatoes are both being chopped in 20 minutes. The celery shouldn't be the third one. They should move the celery down a bit because it doesn't start till later. Because if you're reading this recipe, you basically want to read from top to bottom and know what you're doing. You don't want to kind of have to jump around if you can avoid it. So kind of down here looks pretty nice. Like you have the boiling and the mincing and the chopping and the chopping, and then they add the taste. So that looks pretty good. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, is kind of that waterfall. If things are going to go together to make a component, it's like a sauce or something, then you can put those together and then just kind of order them. So like the first one, the second one, the third one. But this is roughly what I'm looking for. So if you have any questions, you can message me. You can hop on Discord and ask me questions. But otherwise, good luck and have fun.